Hey everybody, hope you're all having a great day. Today's Autistic Explanation video is going to discuss the difference between the medical model of disability and the social model of disability and determine which one makes more sense for conditions like autism. Now, prior to the 1800s, disease and disability was largely viewed through a supernatural lens. Many diseases and disabilities were blamed on things like sin or demonic possession or karma. Like, for example, epilepsy was once thought to be a result of demonic possession. And if your kid was born physically disabled, then you were typically blamed for something that you did to offend God. Now, this type of mindset was dominant for many cultures until around the 1800s during the scientific revolution. During this time, medicine became more scientific and rational, and as a result, the medical model of disability was born. Now, the medical model of disability views the human body as a sort of biological machine with a set range of acceptable levels of cognitive and physical functioning. And if an individual doesn't meet these levels, it makes more sense to be cured or fixed to reduce suffering and to lead a good quality life. Now, at the surface, this seems to make sense. Like, who wants to suffer or have a poor quality of life? But here's the kicker. Many disabled people are not inherently suffering due to their disabilities. For example, just because I'm autistic, that doesn't mean I'm inherently suffering. Now, I know that's a biased perspective since I'm just one person out of well over 1 billion people around the world who have a disability. But you get my point. Not all disabled people are inherently suffering. And also, disabled people can live an excellent quality of life. It's often assumed that people with disability have lower quality of life because non-disabled people are the standard. Now, the medical model of disability went largely unopposed until the 1960s and 70s. This time period coincided with the civil rights movement and the disability rights movement. And the social model of disability was developed as a result. Basically, the social model of disability accepts there's a range of human functioning, cognitive and physical, and that these differences don't inherently lead to disability, but they may result in disability if society intentionally or unintentionally fails to accommodate for these differences. So mainly, the social model of disability says that people are more likely to be disabled as a result of the way society works, rather than being just defective or broken. And the social model of disability says it makes more sense to accommodate people's disabilities than it does to try to fix or cure them. This is especially important for forms of neurodiversity such as autism, ADHD, dyslexia, etc. It makes more sense to accommodate our neurological differences than it does to try to make us as society says we should be. The social model of disability suggests that many disabled people would not be so heavily impacted by their condition if society was more accommodating and accepting. Like, for example, many autistic people, we wouldn't struggle with things like sensory overload as often if public places were less loud, had fewer people, and were less brightly lit. Now, admittedly, there is some gray area between these two models, and in theory, the same condition could be properly viewed through either one depending on the circumstances. Like, for example, if you happen to have a broken leg due to a car accident, it makes sense to use the medical model and try to fix your broken leg so you could walk like you were able to before. But if you were born physically disabled, it makes more sense to have society accommodate your difference than it does to try to force you to be able to walk. Many disabled people, especially many autistic people, typically have their views aligned with the social model of disability, but it's not an absolute guarantee. For example, there are some autistic people who actively advocate for a cure for autism and have their views more aligned with the medical model of disability. But in general, most disabled people view the social model of disability as more acceptable. Basically, in conclusion, the medical model of disability views disabled people as needing to be cured or viewing them as broken and need to be made like everyone else, while the social model of disability focuses on accommodating for disabilities and differences and accepting disabled people as we are. Well, that's all for today's video. I hope you all learned something new. I hope you all liked it. If you want me to make more disability-related content, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!